Welcome back, everyone, to the Soft Talk Hard Truths podcast, where healing is quiet, honesty is gentle, and growth is non-negotiable. I am one half of this awesome duo, Shay.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Shay.
And like I said before, just thank you for tuning in with us on this journey to healing and just growing.
That's right.
I wanted to say something more profound, but that was all I had.
Listen, growing is profound enough. So please go out there. It's all right.
Yeah, we gonna get there. Like, everything's just dripping with profoundness. But
Oh,
nah, cause like I in this podcasting space, like obviously you try to catch a few podcasts to see what your contemporaries are doing, and it's just like it seems like every clip is just gold. I mean, obviously that's not how it is, but that's what it seems like sometimes. So it's like you get into the point where you're trying to like I guess watch everything you say and make sure it's clippable, but I
I
don't know.
know, I know, I know. I thought the same thing. I'm like, because you look and you see all these things, and they have these, these little clips, and you're like, damn, okay, that hit. Every single time, it's like, yeah, nah, but that's not what that's not what the whole thing is about. Sometimes it does make you think like that. Okay, so let me make sure I'm saying some stuff that comes off the same way. I need my clip to hit like that.
You be trying to drop these bars on y'all real quick.
Yep, yep, exactly how it goes for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like sometimes like I just find myself getting like competitive, and it's like I just got here. We'll get there.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah.
Because I'm like, how do you just have this awesome, just speaking hot fire for like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and like I'm over here stumbling over my words every 5 seconds. It's
It's
just
crazy, right? And you know what? And the funny thing for me, because I always say it, so I let everybody know. So I take notes. I feel like I'm better at trying to be profound if I'm prepared. So I'm like writing it down, and I find even when I'm like thinking about stuff, preparing myself for the podcast, and I'm trying to write my stuff, I'm looking at it like, let me see. So if that was in a clip, how would that sound? It's yeah, so it's a truth.
yeah. Like I tried every now and then. I try to take notes and write down what I want to say, but it just for me it never works out that way.
No?
Because it like it'll start off that way. Like I'm great at starting off, but just I tend to react more, you know, in real time with kind of how the talk is going. So like we may end up talking about something totally off topic, but I love tangents, so that's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
that's
yeah,
where we'll end up going. And, I kind of jump in and out of staying on track. So I may end up with like four of the 14 points that I wrote down.
yep, yep. That's the thing. But it's the same with my notes though, right? So like I go in and I look at my notes and I'll put something for like all the segments, all different things, everything, and then it's like barely get to most of them because I feel like the conversation is better when it flows naturally. Like it's nice to have some little bullet points or things to go off of or a loose structure, but I think it's just more authentic. Like when and I think the tangents are more fun, and most of them are funny. So is that part? It's usually a good laugh somewhere in there when it's a tangent.
Yeah, because I mean, with me, that's just kind of how I am. Like I don't typically know where I'm going until I get there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just long for the ride.
Yeah, yeah, enjoy it.
Enjoy it, buckle up, have a sip of whatever you're sipping on. As I do.
Yep. This is how we're starting it.
All right, but back to the topic at hand, or to start the topic, because we didn't actually say what the topic was. So,
Not yet.
not yet. Today we're actually going to be talking about something that is a little bit. I'm finding that is more near and dear to my heart, which is vulnerability, particularly with black men. And don't worry, ladies, we'll get to y'all. We're gonna do another episode for the ladies,
Mm-hmm.
but today it's about the men folk,
Mm-hmm.
because as I like to say, the men are not okay.
Wow. Wow.
I've been saying this since like 2020, 21, and it's just yeah. Um, because I think you know society is kind of, I don't know if it's at a tipping point, but I'm definitely seeing like a shift, in a mostly good way, in the sense that the like ideals of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a black man, are kind of, if not changing outright, definitely being challenged, which is good. Growing up, we're always taught to be stoic, hold in your emotions. Boys don't cry, men don't cry. I take that back. You're allowed to cry if your team wins the championship and if like your parent died.
Right.
Yeah,
Sports.
and then
Sports
like
are an
yeah,
exception.
sports are an exception, and then like there's like one off, once in a lifetime thing is like Jordan retires. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Jordan retired 3 times, so there's that.
So was it okay all 3 times, or
I don't know. Like I just feel like how many times do you have to retire before you're just trying to seek attention? Um,
okay?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just asking. That wasn't a shot at Jordan, because he's the greatest ever. But it's like you left.
Yeah, no, but you know what? Okay, so a little tangent, just forewarning. So now I'm gonna elaborate on that and say that I have seen many people do that, right? So you have seen artists do that, people who are rappers, people who are singers, people who are athletes. And so what do you think? Because mostly everybody I'm thinking about is a male. So what do you think would prompt it the first time? And then why would someone continue to do it if it wasn't for attention? Why would someone retire more than once if it wasn't for the attention of it?
I don't know. And it gets a little, it gets more interesting when like you look at kind of where they are at the time they retired.
Mm-hmm.
Because going back to Jordan's first retirement, he's at the peak of his career. Like, it's just came off winning three championships in a row
Right.
and left. Say he had his father, I believe, was killed. His father, I guess, always wanted him to play baseball, so he went to go play baseball. But again, he didn't necessarily have to do that. But he left 2 more times after that. Yes, there were things surrounding each one, but still, um, people have things in their lives and continue in their in their careers. Like, so, I don't know. We see it with, I guess, Jay-Z's retirement.
Correct. Correct. Mm-hmm.
I guess it's his semi-retirement currently. He pops in and out
Right.
every now and then.
Correct.
I don't know. Is that just for like is there a plan? I guess is the question. Is this part of some sort of strategy?
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense. Um, I will say, in his case, it's interesting that so much time has kind of passed that he is probably no longer the best rapper in his own household.
Oh, right. Right. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Shots
I
fired.
think I think if Beyonce and Hov went head to head right now, I don't know if Hov would win.
Beyonce,
I'm just gonna
it's funny how she,
I'm just,
we don't
I'm just gonna
play.
put that out there. This and I'm saying this in 2026, but this has been the case for a few years. I don't I don't know if Beyonce decided if she ever decided to spit a drop a rap album, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because Beyonce definitely did get nice.
Yeah. Um,
And he didn't
this is
really
a fun
rap
team.
that much. Like, Hope's the man. He always been my, one of my favorites. But he doesn't really rap that much. There's some people like how Ti just recently dropped his song or what have you, right? And so now Ti been around forever. He's another one like he raps on and off. He does so many different things, right? He's got his hands in a lot of things. It hit.
Oh yeah, I listen to that song every day.
Mm-hmm.
part of my workout mix.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. So when I was working out, I mean, it was on. So
hmm
and I can't say I got a whole bunch of Ti songs in my whole catalog, but I got that one for sure. Now that's part because as things come out, of course, I will add something, or when it comes to the playlist, I'll say, hey, hit this and add it to my list. But that's hidden. And how long has it been since he made music?
Seriously, I
And he got
forgot
sons
how
that
long
rap.
it had.
Don't forget. So Ti raps, but so do his sons, and he's still nice in his household.
Do his sons rap or do his sons rap?
I'm gonna say that little dude. I like the little dude. What's his name? Oh my gosh, what's that one's name? The lighter skinned one, the younger one that just had the baby or what have you. He's a little different. The other one, the older one, his name is Damani. So him, I
hmm
actually like. I like the
Okay.
vibe. He's. I like him. He's all right.
I think the younger one is the younger one King
Is
Harris or
he?
something.
Yeah, he's because I was gonna say Major, but it's not. Major's the little dude. That's the little one. I feel like. Yes, he's King. That's exactly who he is. Because he's the one that was going at 50's neck last
Okay.
week. Mm-hmm. That one. So he's a little different. I think he probably is more in the stylings of his father. And so it's hard,
Okay.
you can't really be in the same lane as somebody else who's already nice because it's not going to hit. But the other
hmm
one, Damani, he has his own lane. I like what he does. He's different.
Okay. Very nice. Uh, fair enough. I I have been in and out of hip hop, so I'm not as well versed on all the players there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But all right.
I get most of my stuff from the shade room, so I'm gonna just be honest. And don't think I
Fair
be
enough.
listening to stuff because I don't know. That's why I don't know sometimes I might get the names mixed up. I might not know the names of songs or whatever, but it just comes from the shade room. Everything's on the shade room. So, sometimes I put sound on when it says
Yeah.
sometimes I do turn the sound on and just listen a little bit. So I know that they was going back and forth last week, and so I had clicked on it. And the one that the older son made, he sounds like a mature young man. Like he was talking about the mother. He was talking about 50 Cent's mother.
Mm.
Not in such a bad. It's a diss, but it's not. It wasn't in a grimy. People can get real grimy.
hmm
King's grimy. That younger one, yeah, he's the grimy. He's more like, more like the father.
Fair enough. I mean, I will say, um, I definitely notice like folks take shots. People still always take shots at Tiny, his wife, because I guess because how she looks. But it's like if Ti is fine with it, and that's his wife.
Why are you worried about it?
Exactly. And besides, yeah, you have no idea why someone looks or doesn't look the way that they do. Um, it could be plastic surgery. It could not. It could be someone totally different. Like people don't look the same their entire lives. I think for years, this pops up every now and then. This lady's name, Leela Rashawn. Looks a little bit different.
Hmm.
She's probably a little bit heavier. But she also has a medical condition.
Right. Right.
But the first thing, but people see her and think, oh, she lost it and whatnot. And I'm like, no. And even if she did have a medical condition, maybe she just liked the way she looks.
Yeah. I mean, does she have to stay? Does everybody stay slim and thin? And some of the people that are saying the things, by the way, probably shouldn't say anything. That's part of it. Like people will rip somebody else's shreds, and it's like, why are you ripping somebody? I mean, you're not perfect. None of us are perfect. So why do you want to point out every flaw in someone else, right? Or why would you want to make somebody feel bad about themselves? Oh, you used to be this and that, or what have you. I mean, people change. Yes, they do have medical conditions, or even if they don't, they just get older and they're allowed to change in life. I mean, nobody stays looking the same. That's also part of life. It's just the way it is. But if somebody, I mean, if it's somebody else's partner, that's more of a you like it, I love it type of thing, right? Uh, Ain't for me. I'm not married to him or her. I don't got to sleep with them, or whatever it is that they do. I'm not involved. So what do I care anyway? And what is that other like? If you have a beef with someone, see, that's something I never understood in life. If we beefing, right, and I'm talking and
Hmm.
I'm coming at your neck because that's what it's gonna be because we're beefing. Why are you gonna say something about my wife or my mother or whoever it is because you can't say something about me? Like, where does that come from when people do that? Are you doing that because you can't say anything about me? Basically, I got you on whatever it is I'm saying about you. So then you got to move to someone else to try to push buttons.
Yeah, very true. And that good question. And it definitely ties into I guess the main topic, which is just a lot of men aren't. We're not really taught to explore anything like beyond a surface level. Like once particularly when like something hits us at a level that isn't a surface level.
Mm.
So something happens to us. So like say going back to your example, two dudes beefing, having a rap battle, and someone just you hit me with a zinger, and like instead of like exploring that and unpacking that, now I'm just gonna I'm gonna play dirty, because I got to get my get back,
Right. Yeah.
So it's like I'm just instead of keeping it on message on target, I'm gonna just pull whatever I can pull rather than exploring that and unpacking that.
Hmm.
I just that's how you end up bombing Middle Eastern countries. But you know, hey, hey, hey. But,
Listen.
yeah, that's,
Wow.
some people take the time to unpack emotional issues and personal issues, and then some people do other things.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I said this a couple of times. We're not black men. We're not taught to uh, necessarily process and handle our emotions in a healthy way. But I definitely want to um, you know the question becomes, well, who is responsible for teaching us? And I think kind of an important, not really a shift, but just more shining a light on you know typically the people who end up teaching us. are women, because women, definitely are a lot better at processing and dealing with and working through emotions than we are, because they actually work through and process emotions better than we do. But a lot of when I say we're taught about them, what I actually mean is women are typically tasked with the labor of doing so, as opposed to us taking on the accountability of doing it ourselves. So I kind of want to make that clear. It's I look at it as it is more up to us. Like at a certain age, like you can't just keep saying, "Oh, I wasn't taught this or I didn't know this." You got to like take accountability and learn. Like if you can learn how to play NBA Live for if you learn all the different goddamn combinations on a joystick or a controller, whatever the hell it's called, you can take some time to like look inside and be a little introspective into why you can't keep your why you can't uh stick to one person, or why you keep cheating with someone, or why you just can't um properly process your emotions. So I definitely want to make sure that we're not, or at least I'm not, suggesting that it's anyone's responsibility other than ours. Because if women are teaching us how to you know process our emotions and be more emotional, like who's teaching them? Like basically they doing it for both.
Right. Yourself and somebody else. As hard as it is.
Yeah, on top of everything else that they got going. And it's not right, it's not healthy, but it's also not fair to both. Because we never experienced just, how freeing it can be to be in a place where you're actually aware and actually able to like I said, to process and understand um, emotions beyond just like happiness and anger. you know,
Because there are many.
and there's a whole range of emotions, and and again, it's not just the I guess the pressure or the weight of like not doing these. It doesn't just come from like family or growing up. Society plays a part in it.
Sure.
Um, it unfortunately in different cultures, religions. There's these ideals, very old, very outdated ideals of what a man is, what a man's supposed to be, what they're supposed to act like. Um, but it's funny, like the most you look at all the different cultures and religions and societies, and it's funny that understanding or emotional intelligence rarely if ever shows up in any of this as it pertains to
Right.
us.
Right.
Being aware, basically, just everything is bundled under just being emotional, and of course, emotional is what women are. Again, as I pointed out on another episode, I can't think of any wars that were started by women. There have been wars started over women, but
Yes.
again, that wasn't they weren't started by women. But hey, women are emotional. So I definitely got more on this, but I'm curious to know like your thoughts on this, because um it's one thing it's one thing to get men's perspective, but oftentimes what I've learned in my journey is that there's another side, meaning that there are people on the other side of me. So it's one thing for me to have my experience, but we have to understand that people experience us.
Right.
And like that part, I'm learning still. It's interesting. So I'll ask you, kind of what's your experience being on the other side of that?
I feel like, one of the most difficult things is really for black men has been, from my experience, showing vulnerability. I think it all goes back I mean, we've talked about this before too, but just the upbringing of, you got to be strong. You definitely don't cry, right? So that's just something that you don't cry, can't be a punk, you don't let people see you sweat, you got to be strong, you don't fold. And so I think that even even as you get older and and you're dealing with it, if I can remember, if I even think back to being a kid, right, and being a little girl dealing with little boys, and now all the way through my life, in each phase of life until now, still dealing with men, um I don't see where much has changed, like the same, it's still the same kind of mindset. And I think it's just because that is the typical ideal of what a man is. And I think there's still just a lot of stipulations behind men showing emotion, outside of certain exceptions, like we talked about with the sports, or if someone dies. And sometimes it's funny because maybe it depends on who that person is, right? It's okay if you're emotional if your mom or your dad dies, right? But like if it's your friend, you don't, you're not gonna cry, right? That's when you got to do the manly things, and you gotta, play the music, or you have to do, just, you're not gonna cry, right? Because that's my boy, and that's not what we did. So it's always interesting. But I do feel like a lot of it just has to do with what we learned. It's more of that learned behavior, and then mixed in with a little bit of the societal expectations.
Yeah, that's interesting, and yeah, I definitely see that because everything you just described is like what at least for me, was kind of my lived experience, growing up. Not just for me, but observing um, the men in my life, how they reacted when things went wrong, how they reacted when things went right, um, how they acted around each other, during certain circumstances. For example, like when there was periods of like high stress or just drama, I would see them like basically putting up a front if things weren't as serious as they were, and it's like, are you doing it for us, or are you doing it for yourself? Like it's okay to it's your right to feel sad. Like this is a sad occasion. Like your entire family got hit by a bus. It's okay to feel sad. You know,
Exactly.
shed a tear,
It's cool.
shed a tear.
It may end up,
It's cool.
yeah.
I promise you, we're not gonna get mad at you. We're probably gonna be mad at the bus driver.
Mhm.
Like that's it's
Yeah.
it's all right.
Uh-huh.
Like like if ever there was a time to shed a couple of tears, this would be it, and it's okay. Um, but I guess, you know, kind of along those lines, I feel that there's also like and I'm curious to know, kind of again being on the other side of it. You know, I feel this is what I felt. Part of what I felt, kind of growing up and experiencing it, is that uh, a big reason that we don't show emotion, or we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable, is that we're kind of afraid that that's going to be used against us, either by um, friends, our partner, our employer, like what have you. Like somehow that's going to it's seen as like a weakness, and we feel that weakness is going to be exploited against us in some way.
Hmm.
Uh, so we tend to just bottle everything up, keep everything, close to the vest, even when it's painfully obvious that we're
Mm-hmm.
in some sort of distress, um, because we don't want to be seen as weak. And yes, there are people who do take advantage of that, and shame on them. But one of the things that I had to learn is that it's if you, I guess, open yourself up and reveal a part of yourself, and someone takes advantage of it or someone tries to use it against you, um, that's just a hit and a half that you probably don't need to deal with that person anymore. And it sucks that like that had to be the lesson, but um, sometimes that is a lesson, and I don't feel that the solution is to kind of wall yourself off from everybody else ever, again. But it is hard. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that it isn't. Like it's a hard thing uh, to allow yourself to be vulnerable, because you don't know who's going to be there until you allow yourself
Right.
to
Right.
be vulnerable.
Uh-huh.
It's a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a particularly religious person, but yeah, it's definitely a leap of faith. You gotta have faith in your fellow human that they're gonna take that information and do the right thing with it.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that emotional restraint ties into feeling safe, right? Something being a safe space for you.
That's exactly it.
Because I feel like, because silence can protect you, right? Controlling your emotions can protect you. You feel like, because you got that wall up, you feel like you're protected, right? Because you're not letting anyone in, and so you trust you, so that's your safe space, right? So it's hard to feel safe, to be vulnerable and let people in, and trust that they won't use that against you in the future. And it's difficult. I think it's difficult to do so, and especially for males, because again, they're men, and so men have. I think it's already hard enough to open up for them, especially if it's a soft spot, right? But once they open up, especially if it's ever happened once, someone used it against them, now you have a really hard time, right, in the future with that person, because now he's saying, now his feeling is, I've done this before, right? And this was the outcome. And so what makes this any different than before? Can I feel safe? And that can even come from something in your childhood, right? That can even come from all the way when you were a child and something happened to you and you were trying to express it. And the response you could have gotten from a parent, you could have, a family member. And that could even be part of what causes that. So there's, sometimes there's just a lot of things behind it. Um, there's layers. There's layers that have to be removed.
Yeah, and it's definitely an internal struggle, that we go through, because for for the for the men that actually take the time to at least try to wrap their heads around it. There's turmoil, because like you said, you open up to someone one time, and you're dismissed or mocked or you know punished, because that happens. you know Now you're kind of at this choice, and neither one really seems to be uh better than the other. So one choice is, okay, do I never open up to anybody ever again? Basically, or um, or basically have this high threshold of for someone to pass before I even give them a rat's nostril of openness.
Right.
Um, or do I just roll the dice with every other person that I meet? Just essentially, you know, take a chance because that's the fair thing to do. Just take a chance with everybody else and risk getting hurt. Like that may not be uh, the most ideal. Uh, like it's hard finding that balance. Maybe it's something that I struggle with to this day. Even now, as much as I'm talking about it now, I still my initial kind of default is to still be very guarded. I keep things very close to the vest.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely takes me a while to open up to someone, even if that person, is closer to me than others. There are certain things that I just don't, certain I guess roads I guess I don't go down unless I feel safe.
Right,
This
right,
is just
right. Absolutely.
and I don't know how healthy that is or isn't. I mean, everybody should have. It's easy to say people just should have boundaries, but sometimes I think, is it a boundary or is it a wall? I think sometimes we get the two confused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. I think many people get the two things confused. Yeah. And that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey when you're trying to unlearn some of this behavior. Is figuring out how you should approach these kinds of situations, because I personally think that, I feel like there's a time to be vulnerable, and then sometimes I feel like, there's a time to not be vulnerable. Sometimes I think that there's certain things that, and this is for me personally, and that's part of my own journey, but there's some things that I will continue to not reveal. There's some things that I'd rather work out myself. I don't always want to be vulnerable about everything, if that makes sense. Um, just from learning how I personally am able to process and deal with things, I know what I do better with getting through these situations by myself, and what things that I do better if I'm trying to reach out. Like, that's something that I've learned. So I don't feel like it's all or nothing, basically, is what I'm saying. I don't think you have to be all on one side or all on the other side. I think you can pick and choose depending on the situation.
I'm glad you brought that up because that also kind of highlights uh like another aspect of this, because I'm the same way. Um, I prefer to deal with certain things myself. Like I sit and I process and analyze and try to come up with a workable solution. I again, depending on what it is, but for the most part, um, I just prefer to work through things on my own because there's just a lot less noise. It's like
Mm-hmm.
um, sometimes I don't need all the chit chat or other people's opinions. Um, it, it's annoying to me sometimes.
Yes.
Um, and usually I'm able to kind of work my way through them. So like that experience of being able to work my way through them kind of guides me to being able to work my way through them. But the reason I like I like the fact that you brought it up is because you know I always looked at myself as being solutions oriented,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that is typically attributed to men. We're solutions oriented. We want to, we don't deal with the emotions in the talking. We just give us a problem, we solve it. As if women don't like to solve problems or can't solve problems themselves. So that's just another thing that's seen as, I don't know, a manly thing or a masculine thing. Some of that I've had to unlearn. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter man or woman. Some people, for just that's just how people prefer to deal with problems. It doesn't matter who you are. So thanks for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really feel like that. I don't know, yeah, I guess I'm over on the solutions oriented side pretty much most of the time too then. So I don't know if that's a, a masculine attribute that I have or if I'm an atypical female. I don't know, but I know that that is preferable to me. Um, just from, it's the same thing, less noise, um, being able to be very organized, because I'm a very organized person. So I like to have my thoughts organized and collected. And then I like to work through it, step by step. So I'm very concrete in the way and methodical the way I go about things. And so, I don't always want to hear a whole bunch of, I don't always want other people coming in and convoluting things. So it just works better. I mean, for a lot of things for me. And I don't, maybe that's still part of my journey. I'm not sure. I don't know if that will ever change though. I'm not so sure if that part of me I will ever change. Or as I'm saying it out loud, I'm not sure if I really want to change it.
Yeah, should it?
You know what I'm thinking about?
Like how dare you possess the skill and the wherewithal to work your way through a problem on your own? Who do you think you are, dude? Like,
God forbid, man.
next thing you know, you're gonna be wanting to vote, make equally, get equal pay. How dare you? How dare you, Shay?
Crossing the line. Crossing the line.
Crossing the line. All right. We already allowed you guys to wear pants. Come on now.
Yep.
Now you want your own checking accounts. It's just crazy work. Crazy work.
Want to own things? That's a no-no.
Want to own things? Even things that are in your family, and there's no other male heir, so it should be yours. But
how dare you?
How dare you want this thing to stay in the family under your name?
The audacity.
The audacity. Who do you think you are? The next in line? That doesn't matter. Jesus.
Lord.
But it definitely goes to the overall conversation, because I think a big problem with being vulnerable is rooted in what I guess society's view of being masculine and feminine are or is. I don't know. And it's just, I think those two words cause a lot more trouble than it's worth. Honestly.
Agreed.
Like, we get so caught up in masculine versus feminine. But if you actually, I think if you sat the average person down and ask them, okay, what in 2026, like, what is masculine, what is feminine? Like, they would struggle, because I'm pretty sure the majority of things that they would list as masculine, and by masculine, they typically mean men only, or women, feminine is women only, as if there's zero crossover. So these things that are masculine, no women can do. We're just going to ignore these women doing them over here. Just those are the exceptions. There's just 2 billion exceptions. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just all right. Okay. All right. Half the population is an exception. All right. Crazy math. I guess that's boy math.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not girl math.
Yeah, that's not girl math.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a growing theory as I'm saying this. This is what you call work. workshopping out live on the podcast. I not, but I think that part of what's part of the problem or the inability, I guess, to be vulnerable comes from what people think masculine and feminine is, and I think, well, if this doesn't mean what I've been trained and what I've been taught it means, then who am I? No,
There
who am I?
goes.
If I if I yeah, if I can't fit into this narrowly defined scope, who am I? And it's just weird because, at least to me, because I would think, if this scope is so narrowly defined, I might be part of the problem. Like I'm more of a type. Well, let's open this. Let's open this thing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like and see what we got. you know. But it's like it's one thing to be forced into this label. We tend to be forced women into this label, but then we force ourselves into this other label, and like I don't get it. I don't get it because there's so many things on this side that forget about me just like liking or wanting to. I do them. Like it's like we do them, so it's not even up for discussion. Like we do feel sad and angry and scared and this whole range of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
We do. There's very little that we can do to control that. Uh, like,
Well, you know
we.
what though? You know what I find interesting? We're all
Mhm.
human beings, right? Regardless of our gender. And so how can one gender feel things that the other doesn't, and vice versa, right? Like, how can there not be just certain things that are just shared when we're talking about just human emotions, right? That could never be centered to one gender, right? It's like if you're a human being, you're a human being. So all human beings should be allowed to feel a full range of emotions because that's what makes you a human. Not your gender, right? Your gender is not what makes you a human. You're a human being just because you're a human being. Genders are further
Correct.
classifications.
Hmm. Yeah. So as I say, the men are not okay, and this is probably why. you
But you know what?
well,
If something has been ingrained for so long, right? Let's think about it. How long do you think these labels, right, or these boxes that people put men in and women in, even regardless of their race, right? Just men and women. I mean, this has been around what since the beginning of time. I think
yeah,
that
since they've been men and
right
women.
since it's been men and women. I mean, there's some things that have changed a little bit. I think because I think maybe before it was even they were even more stoic men, especially like years and years ago. If I think about the things I've learned, even in school and things like that. But overall, still the same. It's always been that way. So it's like it doesn't. It's historical. It starts off historical, and then it's further broken down into being cultural for us,
Hmm.
which makes it even further compounded, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like for us, as you break it down and then get into the racial aspect, like for us, a lot of the things that we, I guess, perpetuate and keep on are rooted in white supremacy. So like, you know, we,
Wow.
I don't think, and again, other cultures have their faults, but a lot of the things that we consider masculine, consider feminine, consider what making men men. I don't know if our ancestors felt the same way. Um, there's documented evidence that a lot of historical African cultures were, if not a 50-50, a lot more uh, respectful, I guess, and inclusive for women in their societies than at least American American culture. Um, but it's hard to kind of, I guess, look into that mirror, but you have to, because I spend a lot of my time just uh, thinking about these things. Where does this come from? When we were talking about T.I.'s sons during it, you said King, and what's the other son's name?
Damani.
But there was a third one.
Major.
There's like King Damani,
Major.
Major. Yeah, so it's like, you know, my initial reaction when I heard Major and King was like, laugh, like, why would you name your son or your kids these names? Like that's something like, and then where does that come from? Like, why do we have a problem with naming our kids these names? But again, Benedict Cumberbatch or Jake, Jake Gyllenhaal or Joaquin Phoenix is perfectly fine.
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yes. Yeah. Like, Mila Kunis is that's perfectly fine.
Yes.
But naming our kid King or Major is a problem.
Right.
So like it's all just those things. Like just on this episode here, something that I had to kind of work, catch myself and work my way through. Because I know where it comes from, and it's stupid. But that's just me. It unfortunately, a lot of us still kind of have to unpack that.
Yeah.
But I say that to say that, yeah, I think a lot of for Black men, a lot of what we consider to be manly comes from a place that probably don't need to be following it as much, if at all. I'll just put this out there. I don't know if I've ever seen a happy white person. So I mean, think about it. Have you seen one like just joyful? Just like I've seen happy black girls and joyful black girls and joyful black boys. Like I've seen white people pissed at our happiness.
Yeah. Every day.
Every day. Some little black boys, little black girls playing mind their business seems to piss off white folks.
Yeah. Sad, but very much true. Very much true.
Like I just, and I'm not, it's not a shot at a white folks. It's just I don't know. I have no idea what they find joy in. I don't know if they have an idea of what they find joy in. If I'm being cynical, I would say oppression, but it's Sunday, so I'll be nice.
Yeah.
Oppression, appropriation, the usual stuff. Taking spices and not using them, just topic for another episode.
The spices that.
I ain't letting that shit go.
The spices is a whole topic.
It's a whole topic, and I'm when it comes to that, I'm staying on your necks, white folks, because for real, yeah, how y'all conquer the world? Take all the spices, don't use any of them.
What?
Any of them.
It's bad. It is. Have you seen some of the videos that be on social media where people be cooking and you're looking, you're like, you didn't put nothing on there. No, you didn't put. I'm making fried chicken. No, you didn't put nothing on there. So what do you do?
hmm And then got the nerve to want to experiment. Like I'm a fried chicken in water.
Yeah, There's definitely a whole lot of experiments. It's the top experiment foods I'm gonna say is fried chicken and macaroni and cheese.
Hmm.
Those are what I see
And
things popping up on.
yeah, I was gonna say potato salad, but they seem to have learned a little bit just because of all the bullying. But there's still a few. But yeah, I would say fried chicken, and then I guess macaroni in general, because
Yeah,
macaroni and cheese, macaroni
yeah,
salad,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
anything with like
Any
macaroni.
of it,
Yeah,
because they all of them require skill.
yes,
Yeah, they all.
and
Yeah,
seasoning.
and I was about to say, and don't forget, good old trusted seasoning. So
Skill and
yes,
seasoning.
yes. Gotta have some seasoning.
Okay, and I want to be clear. This is a low bar. Okay, skill and seasoning, that's a low
It
bar.
is.
It is, because you can get the skill just by practicing, and you can get the seasoning from Amazon Prime. Just like,
And by the way, seasoning is not salt and pepper. So
yes, I was just
yeah.
thinking.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I was just, man.
Make sure I have to,
I was just
have to say that.
I was just
Okay.
about to say,
Because that's a must. It's not.
yo,
Yeah. Sorry. Mm-mm.
okay. If you want to cheat, if you want to cheat, you can use some seasoned salt.
Right.
Lowry's.
Right.
Lowry's. Okay.
Correct.
I don't. It's Lowry's or nothing. Argue with the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Argue with
Okay.
the wall about that one.
Right. Okay. Maybe little bit of a little bit of adobo.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No adobo hits.
Okay. Seasoned salt, adobo. But again, though that's like the basement.
Yeah, yeah. That's the foundation.
That's the foundation. Like that. Like if you learning how to cook those, because you can't really mess anything up. You just kind of like, it's like training wheels for your dish. Okay. You're staying on the street. You don't risk falling over. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start putting the work in, you start learning about your garlic, about your onion, and again, you learn a difference between garlic and garlic powder,
Correct.
onion powder.
Correct. They're not the same thing.
Not the same. Both are
Mm-hmm.
fine. Not the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, start getting into your different types of peppers.
Correct.
Not just that black shit.
Correct.
Different types of peppers.
Start talking about mint onion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, minced onions, diced onions. Okay, basil, turmeric,
Yep.
curry,
Yes.
red curry, green curry, yellow curry.
Yes. The curry rainbow.
Yes, it is a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, peppers are rainbow. Even salt. You got different. Again, we say seasoned salt, kosher salt, garlic salt.
Yep.
Okay, these are the basics, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you get into experimenting. Like for me, I don't really experiment, but my experimenting is on garlic parmesan. Like that's, because I love it. But you got to graduate to that part. You got to understand when it's right to use it and when it isn't.
Right.
Like
You do. Yeah, you do. Sure.
man,
But
ain't got the, you got to start somewhere.
yeah. Yeah.
You got the nerve to call us uncivilized. But I digress.
Yeah.
As I tend to do. Can you see these videos? And again, I hope that it's just like for a skit or of some kind. But there are some who are just really serious. Like you can tell it's an actual attempt,
Yeah,
and it's like why? Like there are easier ways to waste food. Like just throw it
yeah,
away. Like
yeah, yeah. Because some of that stuff, I mean, when you look, and of course, nothing is ever in its totality. So of course, there's some white folks out there that can burn, for sure. But they're the exception.
yeah, there are white folks out there that can burn, but unfortunately, there are white folks out there that do burn,
Correct.
and it just not in a good
Yeah.
way. By the way, mac and cheese should not be gray. I'm gonna just put that out there. Mac and cheese should
It
not be
should
gray.
not be right. I'm not even. I don't.
So I don't know how you get to gray.
So that's what I was thinking. When you first said it, I had to process it in my head to think.
That's why I said it twice.
So what would you be putting in your macaroni and cheese that it would be gray? I can't. I mean, I make macaroni and cheese, and I can't think of not one of the ingredients that I use that would make my macaroni and cheese great.
Yeah,
Wow. I'm gonna have to think that one
yeah,
through. But you're right. That's an absolute no. It's an absolute
yeah.
no.
I'll let that marinate. Um,
Yeah.
Let it marinate. A little sizzling in your spirit while you try to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Speaking of marinating, marinades, awesome.
Oh,
Learn.
yeah. Get them in your life. If you don't have them in there, please, because that
Get them in your life.
that elevates your whole dish. Elevates your
Mm-hmm.
whole dish. And you know what? And after a while, so once you become accustomed to cooking, like I actually have even made my own seasoning salt. I have a little container and I put in, the amount of things that I like and made it into a seasoning salt and I will use that.
Very nice.
So, it's
Nice.
all about elevating your game a little bit, Now I don't cook all the
Yeah.
time, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm a cook like that because I don't. But when I cook, I cook. There's a difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I, I listen, I'm the same. Like I don't. I'm passable. I guess if that's the word. I definitely um cook when I need to. If you, I'll say it like this: if you give me any recipe, I can probably do it.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly simply, fairly simply. Like it's not gonna be Gordon Ramsay, but I can follow the instructions. Use the ingredients. Um, probably won't like use. Probably won't stick to the measurements because we don't do that.
No, no.
It's just like it's just we want our food to taste like food. So we just we season the shit.
Yeah.
Um, but everything else I'll follow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, everything I'll follow. But yeah, I tend to bake a lot just because it's easier to me. I can just put it in the oven, go do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've kind of created my own like shake and bake.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Again, these are things you can do once you've gotten the basics down.
Right. Yeah. You gotta get the
Under,
basics first.
yeah, because it's not just understanding it; it's understanding how it tastes in different foods. Like that's the thing.
Correct.
Like adobo, adobo don't work well with everything.
It doesn't.
Seasoned salt don't work well with everything.
Well, you know what? Also, if you would taste your food, I often wonder. It's like so when people serve certain things, the first question in my mind is, did you taste this? Like, did you taste the food before you chose to give it to someone else? Because
Yes.
that does a lot for me. Making sure, I'm seasoning because I'm seasoning to taste, to make sure that it tastes the way that I want it to taste. That's how I've gotten the recipes down, from tasting it. And you get now this other stuff, you can cook it and you don't have to do that. You just know what's right.
Correct. Did you taste this macaroni salad with the raisins in it? Did you do that?
Lord,
Did you
damn,
did you did you taste this fried chicken that you fried in water? And you're good with that?
right, correct. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering sometimes when people give food and it's like, did you really taste that? And if you did and it was
Mm,
okay with you, then maybe we found the problem.
yeah, because maybe cooking just ain't your thing, and that's
That's all
fine.
right. Not for every.
That's fine. It's not for everybody. Maybe you're just a DoorDash type person. Then you know what? Hey,
Uh-huh.
okay,
DoorDash, or maybe you
yeah,
play the sous chef.
yeah.
You
There you
can't
go. Just give me what I
yeah,
need.
that's it. You can't be the chef, right?
Make sure I got what I need. Get the job
Yeah.
done. But even then, because it's like if you ain't using seasonings in your food, do you how you know what seasonings to
Well, that's
use? I feel like
yeah.
so like I don't know.
Yeah, now the more you think about it, right? Because it's like, so what do? Yeah, because then they would be seasoning it, right? They're supposed to give it to you kind of prep, right?
Because when I say go get the cayenne pepper, they look at me like, huh? Like that's a
Right.
problem.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
That's gonna be a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. So maybe just stay out the kitchen.
Yeah, you know
It's
what?
not for everyone.
It's not for everybody. Some people are with the kitchen, and you just might be a hey, you just got your phone and your app, and you good, and that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. It's all good. You know what? You can buy the ingredients that I tell you to buy. There you
you
go.
can. You can. Oh, they have nowadays. Now I don't know. I don't know anyone that has it, and I really don't know that much about it. But I always see. I was trying to think of the name of what it is. There's a commercial that comes on all the time where they have like it's supposed to be this oven, and then they give you these pre-cooked meals, and you're supposed to scan it or what have you. I just can't think of the name right now. I can kind of see the commercial in my head, right? So yeah, maybe
Yes.
try
Yeah,
those.
I know what
Yeah,
you're talking
maybe
about.
try those. I'm not sure what they taste like, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's for you between DoorDash and those things, whatever it's called, with that little oven.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about. To get the name of it as well, but you're right. I have tried a few of those, like those prepared meals, I guess, like Factor, and there was something else. So, of course, now that I want to think of it, I can't think of the name. Yeah,
Pre-pack,
I mean they're hitting. Yeah, those look like they're meal
yeah,
prep, they're
and
pre-packaged.
then it tells you now. Okay, so reviews. How did you feel about them?
Uh, you know, obviously some dishes are better than others. I don't know to what degree there are actual like chefs preparing these things because again, you have in the age of mass production, um, a chef can only do but so much.
Right. Correct.
And if so, either we have a lot of chefs, which means you have a lot of different possibilities on how those things taste,
That's
or
true.
or you just have you know maybe a chef came up with the meal
And then
and
that,
came up
yeah,
with the
the
ingredients
concept.
and then and then someone or a company or whatever and produced the ultimate dish, packaged it, sent it over. But yeah, I mean it's they've been hit or miss. I will say that the simpler dishes tend to taste better. So your steak and potatoes
Mm-hmm.
or string beans.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start getting into like complex things, you know,
Yeah.
and I think some of that is probably by design because again you're trying to appeal to mass group of people. I tend to like spicier food, so um, it's never going to be whatever I try is never going to be spicy enough. But that's just my personal
Mm.
preference. Uh, most people, um, and by most people I mean people who don't look like me, don't just what they consider spicy and what I consider spicy is
Yeah,
different.
not the same thing.
You know, they consider Popeye's spicy chicken spicy, and for me, it's just a guy. To me, it gets just a little kick. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, they probably consider the mild spicy, but that's again topic for a different episode. I don't want to be mean today. But I say all that to say, folks, because to get some spice in your life,
Yep.
yeah, it's yeah. Now, I will say, or rather, I wonder if this. I wonder, at least as it pertains to the U.S. 'Cause I don't want to get into the international argument right now, but at least as far as the U.S. is concerned, if like the lack of spice or lack of spice usage, lack of spice knowledge is a regional thing, because I don't know if you encounter this as much as you go down south,
Huh?
because I don't have some of my folks' food that tasted decent, and majority of them are from the south.
South. That I'm actually gonna agree with. Yeah.
Paula Dean, bless her racist heart. Uh, she may not like us, but she definitely like her seasoning.
Mhm.
So she's halfway there,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. You know what? That's funny though. I think you might be right about that because even if you pay attention and like a lot of times, even if you see some of those videos on social media, some of the people that you see making those videos where you can tell that they're burning, you know what I mean? Like they're seasoning, they're doing it right. Yeah, a lot of them have accents. So perhaps that's true. Because I think, well, and also because I think that, like, when you go down south, because they have different, the tradition is different, right? The lifestyle is different. And so I think they utilize maybe cooking in a different way. And maybe that's why the people down there, just in general, is like a little different with their cooking and how they prepare their meals and stuff like that. Because you'll hear them say a lot of things about food and not the same as in the northern region, because up here it's so eclectic and there's so many different types of like everybody wants to be like a jack of all trades instead of kind of knowing how to mix, to where they are like, listen, this is what we make, this is our food, and this is what we stick to down here, kind of thing. Kind of reminds me of what was that movie? Long time where what, is he? No, he's not Robert De Niro. He's the little short guy. He's the lawyer. He's like a lawyer, and he's from New York, and he goes down south to like defend his cousins because they thought they married some. I mean, they thought they killed someone, but they didn't kill the guys. You know what video?
Yeah,
I mean, what movie I'm talking about?
my cousin
That's
Vinny.
it. Like my cousin Vinny. You remember when he went down south and he was like, they had all that food, because that's like what they make down south. Those are their foods, And he's like, "What's a grit?" He asked the guy, "What is a grit?" He's like, "Do you eat it? Like, what do you do with it?" Kind of thing. So when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, because that's their thing, like cooking and food.
Yeah, God help you if you God help you if you say stuffing and not dressing.
Right. You see what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Yes. Yes. Hmm.
'Cause my friend, that she born. This is my friend that I met last year, who's actually turning into one of a great friend. But she's from Mississippi. You know, lives in Oklahoma, but basically, you know, Southerner true and true. Um, she was like, we were talking about Thanksgiving. She was talking about dressing, and she was like, I guess you Yankee motherfuckers call it stuffing. I was like, Jesus, where did that come from? Just the
Because you got
hostility, shit.
hostility.
She was like, that escalated quickly. Yeah, she was like, yeah, because there's a difference. God damn it, this dressing and this stuffing. I don't know what the fuck I put in, in stuffing. I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
okay.
So this never
And then yeah,
household.
yeah, but you know, yeah, Southerners that definitely, like I said, you know, cooking is a love, and I think that for the most part, transcends uh racial lines. And you're right, like I think it's in a it's weird in a way because there are, you know, up here there is such like a melting pot of different cultures and backgrounds. You can experience so many different foods from so many different backgrounds. But you're right, like there's no, like, unless you're of that culture, there's no master of anything. It's just like you said, just a jack of all trades. Like we can, you know, make uh, Nigerian, Egyptian, Mexican, different foods, but you're not a master of any particular one.
Correct.
Unless you grew up that
Right.
way. And even then, it depends how many generations in you
Yeah.
are, because
Yeah. That matters.
that matters. Because like, you know, first generation American, you know, I don't know, but them fresh off the boat ones, they still they
Everything.
still
They still
got it.
got the culture.
They still, yeah, they still got it. So it
Yeah.
depends. Um, but like I said, you know, get some spice in your life. It's good for you. Yeah, it really is. This is definitely an awesome tangent. I love it because I love it. But
Uh-huh.
it but it still kind of plays into what we're talking about because, you know, take, you know, I'm for you, imagine like, or think of, you know, the most nonchalant, stoic, steely reserved man you know. Um, never, you know, excuse me, never shows a hint of emotion. Um, the happiest day of his life versus the worst day of his life. If he feels like this, you know, but there's that one thing or that one topic that if you get him on, just like a kid in a candy store,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you're like, "Who the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
And then as soon as that conversation is over, just back to being how he was,
Like,
like it never even,
yeah.
it's like you know.
You know, it's funny that you say that, right? Because that man is my dad.
So was a dad.
Like,
So
tell
so
you,
was
that man.
so was a dad.
Listen, and the funny thing is because I talk about him all the time on here because my dad is like the most manly man I know. I don't know any. I mean, he's like stoic, so much so to where everybody in my family talks about it. You know, my aunts will say it. It's funny because a lot of people think my dad and I are just alike, um, which is a whole nother topic. But he is that person, you know. But if you can get him to talk about music, I told you he's a DJ. Ah, so see, he likes to talk about music. He'll talk about sports too, but music is like that's a different kind of love that he has, you know, because he's been DJing for since I'm a kid, you know. But yeah, no, he's as stoic as they come for sure. I told you, best day of his life. I can't tell. I haven't been able to tell the difference of it's the happiest day of his life or the saddest day of his life. I have no idea. He's always the same.
It's interesting that we're like this because, and again, I don't know if it's limited to just the black men or if it's like men in general. I'll say it's men in general. But yeah, there's just that one thing or that group of things where that wall just comes down and it doesn't matter like who he's talking to. Like that's key too. Like it, it could be a guy off the street. This is typically how people find out because here's this guy who never has more than 2 words to say, talking to this complete stranger for 15 minutes about DJing up,
Right.
uptown. And but his, but his, but his wife of 35 years can't get more than 10 words out of him.
That's it.
you know, and yes, it's cool, it's interesting to watch, but that's going to be a problem for him back
Yeah,
at the house because now
yeah, that's the problem.
because now because there's going to be a
For
conversation about
sure.
this. There has to be a conversation about this.
Yeah. Yep. That's
you know,
very accurate.
it's, yeah, so it's like we can open up about certain things, and I guess maybe we don't. I know we don't, but like we just don't understand what opening up means and what being vulnerable means because it's not always this super sensitive subject that we got to be open about. It could be literally anything.
Right.
Um, and I guess, but again, we look at it um, differently. We look at it as this, as a sign of weakness. Even though, again, on the right subject, we give it freely. Like we just,
Hmm.
to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you know. So maybe our ideas or our understanding our idea of what being vulnerable or what being open is needs to change, or at least needs to expand to allow for more things to fit in.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not just the feely touchy stuff. You know, folks want to know. Which one thing that I've definitely had to learn. Folks genuinely want to just know how you're doing.
Right.
Know what's going on because when you don't say much, when you just kind of, I guess, look the same or look stoic or look nonchalant, whatever, all the time, uh, folks wonder. And it's, I used to be annoyed, but it is kind of, it's a fair question to ask because it's like, really, nothing nice happened to you today? like nothing, like nothing good happened, nothing exciting happened ever. Just 25 years in a row, nothing happened. Okay, all right, all right. It's the longest streak ever, but okay, cool. And they're not always expecting you to be like over the moon, but you know, it's okay to show some range,
Yeah, it is.
and that. But if you've never done it or aren't used to doing it, it can be hard. Again, something that I struggle with. Um, particularly, I've gotten. I'm kind of at a point where instead of just not talking at all, I am able to say how I'm feeling more so in the moment. It used to be I had to like collect my thoughts, get them together, and then I'm able to say kind of what I want to say. I'm not very good with word retrieval. For those that don't know, word retrieval is just basically the ability to pull words on the spot to explain what you want to say, or say what you want to say the way you want to say it, kind of on the spot. Doesn't mean I don't know words. It just means in the moment I sometimes draw a blank, and it's just and so my excuse me, my reaction, a lot of his reaction is to just shut down and say nothing, which isn't a solution. I've learned. Go figure. So I've, but again, you learn this by kind of asking yourself these questions, like, why am I not able to say what I want to say in a moment? It's like I have an idea of what I'm feeling, but somehow between here and here, it comes out of here a mess, or it doesn't come out at all. So just learn how to kind of get it out, but sometimes it comes out very, very blunt or very flat. So it seems like I'm being disrespectful or mean or cruel, and it's like it's not that at all. It's just I'm just saying how I'm feeling. So like I think you said it before. There's layers to it. So you get to the part where you're able to communicate how you're feeling, but then you have to understand how those words I guess are coming out, how they can be received. And yes, it's not to an extent. You're not responsible for how people react. But you should kind of be aware of the possibility, I guess, of how people of how it can be received, and it's a balance. I don't want to. You don't always want to soften what you're saying to make somebody feel better, because they may think that it's not as serious as it is. Sometimes you have to say what you sometimes you have to say what you want to say the way it has to be said, so they can understand it's just serious. You just have to try to be aware of those two. And again, it's hard, but it's something that I'm working on. So I'm working on kind of the landing of my words, and also a lot of it is knowing your audience, which something that we don't always do, or take the time to do. I should say. How I talk to my boys is not how I talk to my girlfriend. Is not how I talk to my wife. It's not how I talk to my kids. Not how I talk to my boss. There are differences, and you can't just say, "Well, that's just how I am." Okay, cool. Would you accept that from from someone talking to you any type of way? Probably not.
No.
So it's one of those things another one of those things that you have to learn, and in its own way, it's part of being vulnerable. It's allowing yourself to understand, hey, these are actual people on your other side of these words, and they have thoughts and they have feelings, and depending on how I come at them, or how I respond to how they come at me, it can make them act and feel a certain way. And I do have some degree of control over that, particularly in how I respond or how I act. Yeah, I think that's part of being vulnerable, is allowing yourself to understand that there are that people have these different experiences, depending on who they are. Just like you have different experiences from the people that you deal with. And you should learn to kind of act accordingly. And it just makes life a little bit more interesting, I guess. I don't know. It's just my take.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that that's something that I also struggle with is, and so it depends. I guess it really depends on what what kind of mood I'm in, and if I'm able to stop, process, and then respond, or if you're just going to get my raw response of whatever it is. And I have to be careful because people mistake a lot of the things that I say as me being very nonchalant and not caring, or, you know, and that's not always, sometimes that is the case, right? And so sometimes I want you to know that. Sometimes I'm trying to express that, right? But more often than not, it's not. But because I'm not an overly emotional person, even in, even probably in when we're having a conversation, I find a lot of times when people are talking to me, um, like, because so I've noticed even watching some of the stuff on camera, so I'm like, when I'm doing a podcast, I have been conscientiously trying to be a little different than I am in everyday life, right? Because it will make for me to be more interesting, right? Because typically when I'm having conversations, a lot of times people can't even read me because I give no expressions. So especially at work, it's just the way that I am, So you're talking to me, and it doesn't matter what it is you're saying. Sometimes people are saying stuff, and I guess it's like, oh, it's an emergency, but I'm still okay. We'll take care of it. Now I got it. It's all right, right? So, and that's not me not caring, right? That's not what that is. That's me being an emotionally calm person, through and through. That's just my demeanor. But sometimes it's taken the wrong way. So I've been trying to be very conscious of that as well. So when I say things, now I'm like, let me be cognizant of maybe how this person on the other side is taking it to where before I would be like, you take it how you want. I mean, if you know me, then you know how I mean things. But if you don't, you know, whatever. Part of my journey.
Yeah. It's definitely hard in the work environment because you're dealing with so many people that you just don't typically deal with on a day-to-day basis. Well, you deal with them, but it's kind of because you have to. But they don't know you. They don't know your manners and ways. So yeah, you're right. They tend to they can take um your calmness for you not giving a damn. Um, but the second you show any emotion, now you're just hysterical. So it's like,
You see, so that's the thing. So
yes,
sometimes it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because as a female, I'm too far over on this side of the spectrum, as far as emotional regulation, right? But if I went over to the other side, that would be a problem too, right? So it's like, okay, it's hard to be in the middle completely to meet people's expectations.
yeah, yeah, it is. For me though, one of the things that I've learned and I've had to accept, at least in the workplace, is that I definitely am in that middle point. Like I don't get too high, I don't get too low. And I will not move from that. Like, that's something that I will definitely. I guess that I guess that's the hill, that I'll die on. Doesn't mean like I don't act urgently when the time calls for it, but yeah, I'm never running around like my hair's on fire. And at first, people who don't know me or haven't worked with me as much don't understand it, but when they see shit getting done, I think I think that's when they
Mm-hmm.
understand. Um, because if they realize that, oh, I can get this done without panicking. Wow, who would have thought?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we actually just focus on the task at hand, you can get the task at hand done. Shit, it's just, I remember a few years ago, I just started a new job, with the boss I actually had been working for years, and he pulled me to he pulled me aside. We were talking about something else, and then he had mentioned, you know, how folks are reacting, I guess, not just to me, but to the changes that we were trying to enact at the at the company. And he was telling me a story of somebody who I guess complained to him because I didn't give them, I guess, the reaction that they wanted. So he's telling me that what this person was telling him, and he says like, yeah, Jay, I just don't understand him. Like we explain to him everything, we explain to him everything that we need, and he listened to us. And then after we talk, he makes this decision, and this is what my boss told them or asked them. He was like, so Jay listens to you and then makes a purchasing decision based on what you told him. Like that's your problem. And it's like, and it's like,
Did I miss something?
and it's like, yeah, like did I miss something? You know, like, one, one. This is why it's important. It's so important to have a manager who has your back, and particularly when you're not in the room. Uh, like that's important. But yeah, sometimes just hearing what you think the problem is makes you realize that it ain't really a problem.
Correct.
But yeah, like because this particular person, like everything is urgent, everything is an emergency, and I'm not like that. So it's like if you're not matching energy, something's wrong. But yeah, he was like, so your problem is that Jay listens to you and then makes a purchasing decision based on what you said, and he just sat there, let them sit with it.
Because we missed it.
Yeah. But yeah, being one another thing that I've learned is that kind of how I said before, vulnerability, it looks different, or it takes different forms. It's not just one one particular form. It doesn't always look like tears. It can just be honesty. It can be asking for help. It can be just staying present during a hard conversation instead of
Absolutely.
yeah, instead of just withdrawing. It can just be powering through to get to the other
Correct.
side. Um, for me, it's just staying in the moment. Instead of just trying to get to the next thing, or the next problem, or the next
It could be
situation.
admitting you're wrong.
Yes, definitely. Most definitely. Most definitely. It's 1000%. You know, and not them half-hearted, um, like not the half-hearted nonsense. Like I might be less
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah,
like,
not
no,
that one.
bitch, you were
Not
wrong.
that one. Yeah, really admitting that you're wrong.
yes, I wasn't wrong. I
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
early. No,
That's like Terrence Howard, I could have been wrong, but I could have been right. What if that's the 50 Cent movie? I think he's got this whole little
yeah,
rant in there. He's like, I'm sorry because I'm wrong, but I could have been right. So I'm still not wrong. He has this, whatever it is, it's just wild. You're like, okay. But it kind
yeah.
of makes sense.
Mm,
I forget. It's just this whole what is it? Get Rich or Die Trying. That's it.
oh,
That's what it's from. It's from Get Rich or Die Trying. When he plays his manager.
hilarious. Yeah, you could have been
Yeah.
right. You weren't. Sure, it could
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. Not one of those kind of admitting you're wrong. Like really saying, admitting that you're wrong. Because I think sometimes that puts you in a very vulnerable place. Even you know what? Even Admitting that you're overwhelmed. If you're in a situation where you're overwhelmed with whatever it is, I think for
Hmm.
some people that's very hard. That's that makes you vulnerable, and people don't want to admit that because then that if you're overwhelmed, that can somehow equate to you're not strong.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's perceived as weakness, which isn't good. You know, theoretically.
Hmm. But maybe the fact that you're overwhelmed is a sign that you shouldn't be carrying all that. Like maybe that just all that ain't for you,
Correct.
and that's okay.
Yeah. You're not supposed to carry everything. It doesn't have to be carried all the time, right? Everything isn't meant for every person to carry. Even if you started off carrying, it doesn't mean you're meant to continue to carry something. You know, uh, that goes back to being the strong one, being the dependable one. Being the person who holds it down. All that kind of stuff. It's always all tied back in.
Well, I will be vulnerable and admit that I am hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's about that time for sure.
yes. But before we get out of here, we will share the hard truth of the
Yes.
week. Again, we try to remember to do these things, but sometimes we just get caught up in the conversation. But not today. So, hard truth. Many black men weren't taught to suppress their emotions because they were cold. They were taught because at some point it kept them safe. And understanding that context doesn't remove the responsibility for growth, but it does explain the distance many people feel. I can personally relate to that because we're just taught that it's safer to keep things close to the vest and not reveal anything substantial because it may be used against us at some point. But that is not always the case, and it's healthy even to share sometimes, not just the good stuff, but things that we may be struggling with because as the saying goes, there may be someone else struggling with the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and now you know sharing that at least brings the understanding that hey, I don't have to go through this alone.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree, and I just want to add and say, so to all the black men out there that are doing the work quietly, we see you. Soft doesn't mean weak. Honest doesn't mean fragile. Feeling isn't failing, right? So lead with compassion, but don't abandon growth.
All right, a little Shay sprinkle, I love it. I like it. Speaking of sprinkling, remember to sprinkle some stuff, some seasoning on your food, folks. That.
Yep. This.
That is important. Yes. So, as always, we thank y'all for tuning in to listen to us. Hope you've enjoyed the conversation. If you have, let us know. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like. Watch your mouth. Um, and as always, subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes.
And we will catch y'all next time. Thank you, Shay, as always.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. And yeah, take your peace seriously. And we out.